can do it!
She thinks he can...
Through! Out of the way! Out! We're going in, Flynn! Witness me, blockers! I live.
Into the green place.
Wait, is your...
The cost.
No.
Traitor him!
I agree! He's coming! Time up!
Defy him.
Watch it.
His hand will be lifted up!
That's why we battle fodder! Killing everyone and every...
Since he was on the war ring! Take me! I got...
Bubble. Healthy.
I'll pike her in the spine. Keep up.
Just to me, and I myself.
Waited.
Look out!
out of gasoline?
It was perfect! Bean.
I thought we threw him off the ridge! He means the tree.
Get out.
Hey!
Let's get the engine plates.
With your eyes! Stir up the fire of death!
Shooting at us!
Lower the engines.
Back to the Citadel!
They'll try to get in front of us. Spike. Don't blow. Engine 1 is gone.
You and me, fifth wheel.
One man, one bullet.
Hey! Harpoons!
These 3 bolts!
Hey! Are you there?
I'm gonna need you to drive.
Rick Des! Big boy!
Remember me?
send off my war rig. Once again, my four boys who rise from the ashes. You, and you will resume.
What's happening? Bennett!
Treason! Betrayal!
What stuff?
Breeders!
Immortan Joe! Look right at me! Look at your blood! No! I am awake! Come on!
Hey guys, today we're diving headfirst into the glorious, chaotic engine of pure adrenaline that is Mad Max, Fury Road, a film that pretty much redefined action movie for a generation. If you had a good time with this, a like and a subscribe is a free way to help me keep making more. So our journey kicks off in a world that's gone utterly sideways, where resources are scarcer than a polite driver on the highway. We meet Max looking about as chipper as you'd expect from someone wandering a post-apocalyptic desert. He's haunted by visions, a common theme for our weary hero, when suddenly a horde of pasty, skull-faced folks called war boys descend upon him like a bad rash. They capture him, brand him, and haul him off to the Citadel, a mountainous fortress ruled by the truly unpleasant Immortan Joe, Max. Now, a human blood bag is hung upside down, which, honestly, is not how I like to start my Tuesdays. Cut to the Citadel, a gnarly rock formation teeming with Immortan Joe's followers, who are basically a cult of gearheads obsessed with chrome and explosive glory. Joe's also got this weird thing where he hoards water, letting it trickle down to the desperate masses while he and his elite chug along. We're introduced to Imperator Furiosa, a no-nonsense, one-armed warrior who's meant to be doing a routine fuel run in her colossal war rig. Now, this isn't just any truck. It's a mobile fortress, bristling with spikes and roaring defiance. She rumbles out of the Citadel, leaving a trail of dust and skepticism in her wake. Joe watches from above, his grotesque oxygen mask barely concealing his displeasure. You can almost hear him thinking, this woman is too good at her job. She must be up to something, and boy, is she ever. Instead of heading to Gastown, she veers off course, a move that immediately pings Joe's UHO radar. It turns out Furiosa isn't just hauling fuel. She's hauling something far more precious. Something Joe considers his property, his 5 wives. They're beautiful, terrified young women, hidden deep within the war rig, hoping for a sliver of freedom from their grotesque captor. The air practically crackles with the unspoken promise of mayhem. Immortan Joe, now officially in furious old man mode, sends his entire army. A truly spectacular collection of custom-built, weaponized vehicles after Furiosa. It's like a twisted parade where every float is trying to kill you. The war boys, who are basically walking, talking chrome-obsessed bombs, jump into action, convinced they're riding straight to Valhalla. One of these dedicated, if misguided, chaps is New, a sickly war boy who's got Max strapped to the front of his car like a humanhood ornament, siphoning his blood to keep Nux's motor running. Max, still very much an unwilling participant in this road trip, is literally along for the ride, staring at the dessert floor as New bellows about shiny and chrome. It's a truly bizarre setup, even for this universe. Joe also calls upon his allies, the leaders of Gastown and Bullet Farm, to equally unsettling individuals with their own fleets of destruction. The People Eater, a morbidly obese man in a top hat, and the Bullet Farmer, a maniacal armaments dealer, join the pursuit, turning this into a multi-pronged assault. The sheer number of vehicles and the frantic energy of the chase are breathtaking. Engines roar, metal screeches, and the promise of a glorious death hangs heavy in the air for these war boys, who are probably thinking, best day ever. Just when you think things can't get any wilder, a gargantuan, terrifying sandstorm rolls in like the apocalypse's own special effect. This isn't your average desert breeze. It's a monumental, swirling vortex of orange dust and lightning, swallowing everything in its path. Furiosa, ever the pragmatist, decides the best way to evade the pursuing horde is to drive straight into it. Because why not? It's certainly a bold strategy, Cotton. The war rig plunges into the swirling tempest, visibility dropping to zero, the metallic clang of shrapnel hitting the hull echoing through the chaos. Inside Nux's vehicle, which is basically disintegrating round them, Max sees his chance. The storm's violent buffeting wrenches him free, sending him tumbling through the air, tethered only by his blood bag tube to new. It's a literal lifeline and a figurative anchor to this insanity. The sounds are immense here, the roaring wind, the grinding metal, the distant shouts swallowed by the dust. It's sensory overload, a whirlwind of fear and desperation where every second feels like a fight for survival. Max desperately tries to cut himself loose, the tension palpable as the world around them becomes a blurry, deadly, orange canvas. This is less a chase, more a cosmic blender of destruction, and Max is desperately trying not to become pulp. After the sandstorm spits them out. Battered but surprisingly mostly intact Max, now free from Nux's blood-sucking shenanigans, finds himself face to face with Furiosa and her precious cargo, the 5 wives. This isn't exactly a meet cute. Max is wary, Furiosa is fierce, and the wives are, understandably, terrified. Max, in typical lone wolf fashion, tries to take the war rig for himself. A fierce, brutal brawl erupts, a raw, primal clash of fists, feet, and whatever blunt objects are handy. The grunts and thuds of the combat resonate, punctuated by the wives' alarmed gasps. It's a messy, desperate fight for control, and it's pretty clear Max isn't looking for friends. He's looking for survival and a working vehicle. But Furiosa is no pushover. She's got grit and a surprising amount of tactical foresight, even in a hand-to-hand slugfest. Eventually, after a lot of shouting and a few accidental gunshot wounds, they reach a grudging stalemate. Max realizes the rig is useless without Furiosa's driving skills, and Furiosa realizes Max might actually be a useful brood to have around. The wives, these breeders as Joe calls them, are fragile but surprisingly resilient, offering little moments of humanity amidst the dusty, violent landscape. They have names like Splendid, Toast, Capable, Cheeto, and Dag, each a spark of innocence in this hellscape. It's a reluctant alliance born of necessity, a fragile truce against a common enemy, and the distinct smell of burnt rubber and gunpowder. This initial friction is crucial, laying the groundwork for the bizarre found family dynamic that's about to unfold, proving that even in the apocalypse, teamwork makes the dream work, or at least helps you survive. As our ragtag group of misfits continues its desperate flight, they drive into a narrow canyon, a natural bottleneck that practically screams ambush here, and, wouldn't you know it, just like that, a gang of grotesque, spike-covered bikers known as the Buzzards emerges, descending from the rocky crags like vultures on steroids. Their vehicles are menacing, their intentions even more so. This isn't a subtle attack, it's a full-frontal assault, a symphony of roaring engines and weaponized chaos. The metallic screech of their bikes against the rock, the whir of saw blades, and the sharp crack of gunfire fill the canyon. Max, now reluctantly part of the team, springs into action, using his tactical cunning and brute force to keep the buzzards at bay. He's clambering over the rig, dodging bullets, and dispatching enemies with a grim efficiency that suggests he's done this a few times before. Furiosa, meanwhile, is a force of nature behind the wheel, maneuvering the colossal war rig through the narrow pass, swerving and slamming into enemy vehicles with a thunderous impact. The wives, tucked away inside, are doing their best to help, loading weapons and trying to stay out of the direct line of fire. Their hopeful whispers a stark contrast to the cacophony outside. New, our little war boy, who was left for dead but somehow survived and clung to the rig, eventually makes his way back, now a disillusioned hanger-on. He's had his chrome-plated dreams of Valhalla thoroughly tarnished by reality. This entire sequence is a masterclass in vehicular combat, a brutal ballet of destruction where every explosion feels earned, and every near miss makes you physically flinch. The thud of bodies hitting the ground, the explosion of tires, and the constant roar of engines create an immersive, heart-pounding experience. Max and Furiosa, despite their earlier hostilities, are now a surprisingly effective, if still gruff, duo. Our weary travelers find themselves in a bind, with Immortan Joe's main armada hot on their heels. Furiosa, ever the strategist, attempts a shortcut through a hostile canyon controlled by two of Joe's grotesque allies, the Bullet Farmer and the People Eater. It's a classic case of out of the frying pan into a slightly more terrifying, weaponized frying pan. Their idea is to trade for passage. But, shocker, these guys aren't exactly known for their diplomacy. The Bullet Farmer, a man whose love for ammo rivals the Doomsday Preppers, opens fire with an arsenal that would make a small nation blush. The whiz of bullets, the loud thud of impacts against the rig's armor, and the frantic shouts of our heroes create an auditory barrage. The scene devolves into a desperate shootout, a chaotic symphony of explosions and gunfire. Max, demonstrating his uncanny ability to attract trouble, goes full Mad Max mode, leading the charge against the Bullet Farmer's forces. He's a whirlwind of brutal efficiency, using every available weapon and turning obstacles into opportunities. Furiosa, meanwhile, handles the colossal war rig with incredible precision, weaving through the chaos, dodging incoming fire, and ramming enemy vehicles with a satisfying crunch of metal. The wives, now actively participating, are loading weapons and helping where they can, their transformation from helpless victims to defiant survivors beginning to take shape. New, still trying to find his place, is surprisingly useful, doing things like manning a gun or helping repair the rig on the fly. He's slowly shedding his war boy programming, which is less about enlightenment and more about Immortan Joe kinda sucks. The Bullet Farmer's forces are relentless. But Max and Furiosa, against all odds, manage to fight their way through, leaving a trail of destruction, fiery explosions, and a whole lot of very annoyed Bullet Farmers in their wake. It's an exhausting, gritty battle that leaves you breathless. After that explosive encounter, our embattled convoy finally escapes, but not without a heavy toll. One of the wives, Splendid, tragically dies after a violent collision, her loss a good punch that underscores the sheer brutality of their fight for freedom. The group, now somber and weary, finds themselves driving onto a vast, desolate salt flat under the cold, unfeeling gaze of the moon. It's an eerie, almost sacred space, silent save for the rumbling of the rig. The air here is thick with a sense of loss, a stark contrast to the relentless action that preceded it. The quiet allows for reflection, a moment to acknowledge the human cost of their rebellion. Furiosa, clearly devastated, screams in anguish, "Arrah!" primal cry that cuts through the silence, expressing the profound despair of her failed quest for the green place. It's a moment of profound vulnerability for our stoic warrior. Then out of the shimmering, mirage-like distance appears a solitary figure. It's a mysterious woman, a crone, one of the Vuvolini, an ancient tribe of female riders. They're like dessert grandmas, but with more shotguns and less knitting. These are the last remnants of what Furiosa believed was her home, the green place, now just a memory, a myth in the desolate landscape. This encounter is a pivotal moment, a flicker of hope in an otherwise bleak world. The initial meeting is cautious, distrustful even, as both groups eye each other, wondering if they are friend or foe. The metallic click of their weapons being slowly lowered is almost deafening in the vast quiet. It's a beautifully shot, visually stunning scene that juxtaposes the brutal reality of their journey with the silent, almost spiritual desolation of the Salt Flats. The ground crunches under the tires, a sound that feels lonely and profound. The initial tension eventually gives way to a bittersweet reunion as Furiosa connects with the Vuvolini. These are her people, the remnants of a once thriving, verdant community. The cracking voices of the elders, the soft rustle of their worn clothing, and a quiet comfort of shared heritage fill the air. It's a moment of profound personal revelation for Furiosa, who has carried the hope of the green place with her for so long. But their meeting brings devastating news. The fabled green place, her ancestral home, is no more. It's been poisoned, turned into a desolate swamp, just another casualty of the ravaged world. The blow is palpable. Furiosa's face crumples, and the quiet despair that follows is heartbreaking. The wives and Max share her grief, a collective sigh for a lost dream. This isn't just a place. It's a symbol of hope, a beacon for all of them. The Vuvolini, having wandered the Salt Flats for years, are now a group of hardened survivors, their faces etched with the harsh realities of their existence. The women consider abandoning their flight, perhaps riding off into the unknown to start anew, a grim option in a world that offers little. The clinking of their trinkets, the creak of their leathery gear, all add to the atmosphere of a tired, broken group. But Max, ever the pragmatist, with a surprising knack for unexpected solutions, offers a radical idea. Instead of continuing into the unknown, they should turn back, confront Immortan Joe, and take over the Citadel. His logic is brutally simple. Joe has water and a defensible fortress. They have a plan and a burning desire for revenge. The silence that follows is thick with the weight of this decision, the sheer audacity of turning around and facing the monster. The distant, low hum of Joe's approaching forces reinforces the urgency of the choice. It's a truly brilliant pivot in the story, transforming the narrative from an escape to a revolution. It's a moment where a glimmer of hope is found not in running away, but in fighting back, a subtle shift in the wind after a long, weary journey. After much deliberation and a healthy dose of Max's gruff encouragement, the unthinkable happens. Furiosa, with a resolute glint in her eyes, spins the mighty war rig in a dramatic U-turn. The groan of the massive tires on the Salt Flat is almost a declaration of war. They're not just running anymore. They're fighting back. This isn't just a physical reversal. It's a monumental shift in strategy, a daring, almost suicidal gamble to reclaim what was taken. The mood shifts from despair to defiant determination. New, fully committed to this new, less chrome-obsessed cause, is now an integral part of the team, his previous fanaticism replaced by a genuine desire to help. He's probably thinking, well, this is more exciting than dying for a guy with a creepy mask. The wives, too, have transformed. They're no longer passive cargo, but active participants, their faces set with a fierce resolve. They're learning to use weapons, their small hands gripping guns with newfound purpose. The Vuvolini, with their seasoned wisdom and formidable riding skills, agreed to join the charge, their ancient motorbikes roaring to life, becoming a flank of formidable warriors. The sound of their engines blends with the rumble of the war rig, a symphony of vengeance. They devise a plan. The war rig will serve as a decoy, drawing Immortan Joe and his entire armada into a trap within the narrow canyon, the very same one they just escaped. The anticipation builds, the air thick with the smell of gasoline and ozone. It's an all-or-nothing gambit, a desperate race against time and an army of fanatics. Every rivet on the rig, every glint of chrome on the war boys' vehicles, every thud of a weapon being loaded feels like a prelude to the inevitable, explosive confrontation. The fate of their small band, and possibly the future of the Wasteland, hinges on this audacious do-over. Max, naturally, looks about as thrilled as a cat getting a bath, but his actions speak louder than his grumbling. The reverse chase is on, and it's even more frenetic than the first. The war rig, now a symbol of rebellion, barrels through the canyon with Immortan Joe's entire, furiously hot on its heels. This isn't just a pursuit, it's a relentless, high-octane demolition derby, a metal-grinding, explosion-heavy spectacle of pure chaos. The roar of hundreds of engines, the metallic grind of vehicles colliding, and the constant crackle of gunfire fill the air. Max, a man who knows a thing or two about vehicular mayhem, is a whirlwind of calculated violence. He's darting between vehicles, swinging from the rig, and delivering brutal blows, a master of improvised combat. The satisfying thud of a well-placed punch, the shriek of tires losing traction, and the explosive boom of a fuel tank ignite the senses. Furiosa, meanwhile, is a force of nature at the wheel, expertly navigating the gargantuan rig through the narrowing canyon, her steely gaze fixed on the goal. She's not just driving, she's weaponizing the vehicle, using its sheer mass to crush and destroy. The Vuvolini, with their veteran skills, swarm around the rig on their agile bikes, providing crucial cover fire and taking out enemy vehicles with surprising efficiency. The rhythmic thud of their ancient rifles against the metal is a grim melody. New, our reformed war boy, finds his moment of redemption, risking his life to ensure the success of their plan. His earlier fanaticism replaced by a genuine sense of purpose. He's clambering round the rig, fixing things, dodging bullets, a true unsung hero. The wives, still within the relative safety of the rig, are vital, reloading weapons and keeping the momentum going, their fear replaced by a fierce determination. It's a prolonged, visceral battle where every punch, every explosion, every near miss feels painfully real. The constant assault from Joe's forces, who are literally throwing everything they have at the war rig, makes you wonder how anyone could possibly survive. The metallic whine of the bullet farmer's chain gun, the shrieks of the war boys, and the constant, deafening roar of the engines converge into a brutal symphony of war. This is the Fury Road in its most literal, glorious, and utterly exhausting form. You can practically taste the dust and feel the vibrations of the engines through the screen. The chase culminates in an epic showdown. Immortan Joe, a truly monstrous figure, boards the war rig, determined to reclaim his property and punish Furiosa. The metallic clang of his armor, the labored hiss of his breathing apparatus, and the guttural roars of his war boys are terrifying. This isn't just a fight. It's a deeply personal confrontation, a culmination of years of oppression and defiance. Furiosa, with Max's crucial support, engages Joe in a brutal, hand-to-hand struggle atop the speeding rig. The wind whips past them, the metal groans under their weight, and every punch thrown feels like it carries the weight of 1,000 grievances. The wives, meanwhile, actively participate in the fight, showing immense courage, assisting Max and Furiosa, even sacrificing their own well-being to protect each other. The crack of a whip, the snap of a bone, and the spray of blood all contribute to the visceral reality of this climax. In a moment of sheer, defiant power, Furiosa seizes Joe's grotesque breathing mask, his life support, and with a guttural scream of pure rage, rips it off, severing his connection to this world. The gruesome pop and squelch of his body tearing apart is truly sickening, a moment of satisfying, if visceral, revenge. The fight isn't over though. New, recognizing the opportunity for a final, glorious act of redemption, sacrifices himself. With a final, whispered "witness me," he detonates his vehicle, creating a chasm that swallows Immortan Joe's remaining pursuers and secures the war rig's escape. The thunderous explosion, the showering debris, and the desperate shouts of the war boys are a testament to his courageous end. It's a truly heroic act, one that perfectly encapsulates the film's themes of sacrifice and finding purpose. Even in the bleakest of circumstances, the smell of burning fuel and triumph fills the air as the war rig, battered but victorious, rolls on dot with Immortan Joe's reign of terror definitively ended. Furiosa and the surviving group make their way back to the Citadel, not as fugitives, but as liberators. The ascent is arduous, but this time, it's filled with a quiet sense of triumph. The vast crowds of enslaved people who had been kept in perpetual thirst and fear witness Joe's lifeless body being presented as a trophy, a collective gasp. Then a slow, building roar of realization spreads through the masses. The metallic clanging of chains being broken, the shouts of freedom, and the joyous clamor of a people reclaiming their destiny resonate through the fortress. The war boys, stripped of their leader and their false god, are quickly overwhelmed by the surging tide of the oppressed. Furiosa and the wives, now symbols of defiance and hope, are lifted high by the jubilant crowd, their faces etched with a mix of exhaustion, relief, and profound purpose. Max, ever the lone wolf, quietly slips away, his work done, his journey continuing into the endless desert. His footsteps are almost silent against the triumphant roar of the liberated. He's the catalyst, the unwilling hero, but his path is not among the masses, at least not yet. The sight of water cascading freely for the first time, washing over the thirsty, cheering faces, is a powerful visual and auditory moment, a cleansing wave of liberation. The once oppressed are now free, and a new, uncertain future stretches before them. It's a beautiful, uplifting end to an otherwise brutal tale, and that's our Mad Max Fury Road recap. What a ride! Right, a true masterclass in practical effects, relentless action, and surprisingly poignant storytelling. It's a reminder that even in the most desolate corners of existence, hope can flicker, and heroes, no matter how reluctant, will rise. The film truly shows us that even when all seems lost, the fight for a better future is always worth the fury. A stunning visual spectacle and an emotional punch to the gut, all wrapped up in a gloriously gritty package. You gotta love it.